up, guys? Welcome to another video. Today we're reviewing Logan. This film came out in 2017 and was directed by James Mangold and stars Hugh Jackman as Logan. Now, before we start, this is the like button, subscribe to the post notification bell so you know every free video. Let's just start. Let's start talking about the good. So, all the actors and actresses in this film are all fantastic, especially Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. They are very, very good in this film. The opening sequence is great, especially Wolverine fighting carjackers, and it shows Wolverine's brutality from the opening sequence. The cinematography, which includes shots, cameras, lighting, is fantastic. James Mangold is a fantastic director, and especially what he does behind the camera, how he frames his shots. Every single shot in this film looks like it was crafted by someone who cares about the film that he's making. And I cannot wait to see how he uses these shots for Indiana Jones 5. I just cannot wait. First act of the film, I thought it was good. I thought it set up the characters well. Didn't really need to set up too many characters, just the girl Wolverine sort of hybrid person, and I thought she was good in the film. Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman, like I say, were very good in this film, but of course they don't need the setup that's needed for the first act. There's also a great continued relationship between Professor X played by Patrick Stewart and Wolverine played by Hugh Jackman. A great continued relationship. Their relationship really develops the film in a way that you actually care about what's going on throughout the film, because this is a very sad film. This is a very, very sad film. So the relationship between those two characters is very good. There's also a good relationship between Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman, of course, and Caliban, played by Stephen Merchant. There's a good relationship between those two characters. Laura, who is Wolverine's daughter, played by Daphne Keane, is awesome. Laura is the opposite of what I expected. I really, really cared about that character. She was always in peril, and you also felt that maybe she could die at any minute. And I love the bond between Wolverine and Laura. There are also some awesome action sequences, especially the car shooting sequence with Wolverine, Laura, and Professor X. They're on the car. These guys are just shooting the car, and you don't know what's going to happen to each of the characters. The second half of the film I thought was very entertaining. It progresses the story well in a way that was entertaining and enjoyable to watch. There's also some good backstory sequences, mainly with Laura and Wolverine. They do have some backstory, which I enjoyed more than I thought I would. There's also a great relationship between Professor X and Laura. Professor X does develop a sort of grandfather relationship to Laura and sort of a fatherly relationship to Wolverine, which of course he always sort of had. But now Professor X has this grandfather role, and you sort of see him as this mentor, even though Professor X does not say really anything in the film. You can feel that he sort of creates this grandfather-like bond for Laura. Professor X, he's awesome. I really enjoy Professor X. This is a sort of this is not the usual Professor X that we've seen. He's sort of deluded, and he doesn't really know what's going on, and it's sad in a way because of what happens throughout the film, but it's also very meaningful to Wolverine's character. There are also some emotional sequences, especially Professor X's death. Now, Professor X's death is sudden, very sudden, and easily the most emotional death in the entire X-Men franchise. I found this death to be extremely, extremely sad because, of course, Professor X is iconic. Patrick Stewart is fantastic as Professor X. And this one gives him more of an emotional weight to his character because he actually is with Wolverine the entire time. It's him, Wolverine, and Laura as the central characters. And you feel an overwhelming sense of danger for Professor X until he finally dies. And it's very, very sad. There are also many tense and brutal sequences, especially the opening sequence and Professor X's death. Like I stated, he was stabbed by X-29, or the bad Wolverine. X-29 is very, very, he's awesome, but he's very, very terrifying. He just is very brutal and goes after anyone he sees and anything he sees. And he killed Professor X, and it's very, very brutal. There are also some hilarious sequences, especially between Wolverine and Professor X. Professor X, like I said, is a bit deluded, so he doesn't really know what is going on at every single point in time. And I thought it worked for his character because it gives that another emotional weight to his character. And there are also some funny sequences with that. The third act of the film is both awesome and very, very emotional. Like I said, this film is very, very emotional. Easily the most emotional film in the entire X-Men saga. Wolverine and Laura are killing soldiers, and you think they're going to make it out alive, and they keep killing soldiers. And Wolverine fights X-29, and that is when it leads to Wolverine's death. And Wolverine dies by getting impaled by one of these sticks that X-29 sort of pushes them into, and it's very emotional because Logan has been in the X-Men franchise since the beginning. You've had Wolverine since 2000 when the first X-Men came out, plus it was Hugh Jackman since 2000, and you can see his character finally progress into this, like I said, father figure, and he's a bit older, a bit wiser, and when it gets to that death, it's very, very emotional. The score by Marco Beltrami is great. I really enjoyed the score for this film. Marco Beltrami, of course, did Scream, and he's a very great composer. He's a very, very good composer. And the ending sequence is very emotional. The camera just focuses on Logan's grave. And like I said, it's very emotional, and it fits the entire film, and it fits the ending perfectly for Logan. That's about it. There's nothing bad about this film. Logan is a phenomenal superhero film. It's definitely one of Marvel's best films, and I highly recommend it. Now I'm going to give Logan an A. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like button, subscribe to the post notification bell so you know for your video. I'm Peter. Thank you for watching.